find out who you are, you find out what you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for Disney Royalty, Princess and the Frog, Tiana and Naveen. So here we are at the Disney Revival. So to really give you a sort of scope as to exactly how long it's been since we had a proper Disney Royalty film. The last one was Mulan, which came out in 1998. Here we are with the Disney Revival with Princess and the Frog in 2009. So we're about a decade in without an actual real get you by the gut Disney film. And it's sort of weird that era sort of happened. The post-Renaissance era was experimental, and while I applaud an attempt to sort of play with the formula, it felt like we really should have sort of nipped this in the bud a while ago. And you could see Disney was trying to get away from 2D animation, and Princess and the Frog was sort of a attempt like, well, what if we saw what happened? What if we, tested the water a bit more with something else? So here we are with Princess and the Frog, which, bringing back Ron Clements and John Musker, I felt was a really great idea for this. So they were the directors for The Great Mouse Detective, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet. So it was nice to see them coming here to effectively make a love letter to the Disney Renaissance, because that's what this movie is. It is sort of a tribute to everything we loved about the Disney Renaissance era, but it isn't just solely set and focused on being, hey, remember this. It does build on it. It does seek to improve some of those things. And I think that's best shown in characters like Lawrence. So Lawrence comes into this movie as sort of a regular henchman, but he becomes a henchman over the course of the movie. Most antagonists already have a henchman that comes in. Ursula had Flotsam and Jetsam, Ratigan had Fidget, Jafar had Iago, Gaston had LeFou. And here, Lawrence becomes the henchman, and even throughout the film, he doesn't quite want to be the henchman. He just sort of pushed into the position because he's offered the better job. Lottie herself is an evolution on the spoiled brat character, who we hadn't really seen in Disney since the Golden Era with the Ugly Stepsisters. There's a lot of depth to Lottie, where, she's spoiled, she's a bit bratty, but she has a good heart, and she really does care about Tiana. But at the same time, we see, I think, very much spiritual successors to other great films. For example, Dr. Facilier, he echoes bits of Ursula, he echoes bits of Jafar, he echoes bits of Hook, even. He's a great antagonist because he is sort of the devil, offering you the quick and easy route. He's sort of Palpatine. Like, well, no, you could, but you deserve this. What do you want? I can get it to you. I can get you what you want. And then on the other side is Mama Odie, who is this very Merlin-esque character. Like, well, no, I'm not here to give you what you want, what you need. You need, first of all, to put your head on your shoulders and think. And focus more on the less materialistic things. And that's the whole point of digging a little deeper. Friends on the other side is, it's Poor Unfortunate Souls if Poor Unfortunate Souls had a baby. That's really what it is, and it's beautiful. Everything about this film, from how it looks to how it's produced to how its characters are introduced, is really great. Dr. Facilier is a great villain. Ray and Lewis pay homage to Sebastian and Flounder, while at the same time being their own character. Actually, not even really Sebastian and Flounder. They're sort of like every fun character you meet on your Disney adventure. Lewis reminds me, when he's not being totally ham-fisted with the humor, is a bit reminiscent of Baloo and just his love of music and the rhythm he brings to the movie. And Ray echoes just a little bit of Genie, in the fact that he comes off as one character, and then with another moment he introduces himself as having a bit more depth to him. And that's great. But this movie also is very much, it's about something that we hadn't really seen in a Disney movie before. It's actually about two people. The Princess and the Frog. It's the girl who becomes a princess and the prince who became a frog, and their adventure. And it's really sweet seeing these two characters play off each other and grow throughout this movie. So let's sort of go into it and sort of how this movie all sort of plays off of our two characters. So let's start with Naveen. So Naveen has to be, honestly, he's a really great character. He really is. He reminds me a bit of what Cusco should have been had the movie The Emperor's Groove not been so much of a comedy. Because, like Naveen, Cusco he's spoiled, he's a bit charming. As a matter of fact, Naveen relies on his charm. He sort of relies on his ability. I can flirt and sophisticate my way out of this. Also throw in the fact that I'm a prince. There's also a bit of Aladdin to him. There's a sort of that sort of quick think on my feet aspect. But like Cusco, he'd much rather have fun. But the problem with Cusco was there was also sort of indication that he also took his job seriously. Yeah, I know we remember the fact he wanted to destroy Parker's village to build a water park, but he also took umbrage with the fact that Yzma was doing his job. Like, no, 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 you're doing my job again. I'm the emperor. That is my job. Do not do this. And he fired her for it. That speaks volumes. You could also argue that Naveen's relationship with Lawrence is sort of a more realistic take on Cusco's relationship with the old man. And it is sort of a bit fitting that Naveen and Lawrence never really reconcile, for the most part. And I think Naveen's character changes over the course of the movie, because at one point you think he's totally going to make the deal with Shadow Man. He doesn't actually. What happens is Dr. Vasilia sort of sees both of them, like, okay, he sees two fishes, two marks, and he makes an appeal to both of them. And over the course of it, he realizes that, Naveen might do it, but I can definitely get Lawrence. And by getting Lawrence, I can get Naveen. So that works. Beautiful bit. And that shows that Naveen is not totally for taking the obvious shortcut. But at the same time, he isn't quite willing to commit to working. Over the course of the film, Tiana effectively has to force him to get up, force him to work, to contribute, where Naveen just wants to, play his fake ukulele/guitar. And that's fun. Naveen has a really great sense of love of life and rhythm to him. But once he is, forced to mince and realizes that he can't, he then gives us a really great sort of insight into his life. The fact, as a prince, everyone does everything for you. They bathe you, they dress you, they brush your teeth, and it's good for a while, but when his parents cut him off, he realizes he doesn't know how to do anything. He is totally incapable of doing anything for himself. And that sort of is his major character flaw. He lacks depth. He lacks sort of any real meat to himself as a personality. And meeting Tiana sort of helps with that. So I think for Naveen, once he'd been cut off, his mentality was, well, all I know what to do is party and charm pretty girls. And to me, I think Naveen's very much a love him and leave him kind of guy. Hey, we'll party and then we'll go off to the next one, and I'll probably never see those girls again. Tiana might be the first girl he's been forced to interact and talk with, and she leaves him totally floored and sort of realizing how incomplete he is as a person, because Naveen has no goals, he has no dreams, he has no desires, and Tiana is this incredibly driven person, and he can't help but admire that. That's sort of where his love for her comes from. I mean, he obviously does like how she looks. That is, and we have to go back to another Disney film, that sort of goes to Aladdin, where Aladdin is smitten with Jasmine, but it's actually when they talk that he really does feel a sense of kinship to her. Sort of feels that there is more to her than just the good looks, which is what he's always said. There's more to him, there's more to her. And so that's why with Mama Odie, it was very easy, like, look, it ain't that hard for you to figure out what you need, all right? You've realized that money's not going to make you happy. Didn't make you happy then, it's not going to make you happy now. What do you want? What do you need? What do you need? And he needs someone like Tiana in his life. He needs someone who's going to help light a fire under his butt. He needs someone that he can aspire to be more like. And she has an impact on him because of it. We see that not only is he going to confess his feelings for her, but he also wants to work to help her get a restaurant. He'll like, I'll work a job. I'll work 2 jobs. And later on, he agrees to marry Lottie. Like, okay, I'll marry you, but you have to give Tiana her restaurant. That it works. It's beautiful. We see Naveen come from a very self-centered, well-meaning person to a selfless person, all in the span of the Disney 3 days at most. Coming up to Tiana's character is sort of a build-up. And I'm not saying that her character becomes more easy to understand over the course of the movie. No, we can understand Tiana's character within the first 10 minutes at most. But she is sort of an amalgamation of other characters, which is pretty much what every Disney royalty is as it goes on. They're going to echo their predecessors. With Tiana, I think her biggest inspirations are Cinderella to an extent, mostly Ariel and Belle. So Ariel is a dreamer. She has this really big dream of going off into this other world, and she doesn't really have the means to make it happen. What she does is she sort of, first, she is content to have these small things, the trinkets and gadgets and gizmos aplenty, and who's its and what's its, and not knowing the proper names of them. But then she realizes she needs more. That dream is very abstract. It's very easy to sort of latch on to it, but on the surface, it's very hard for, I think, a lot of people sort of connect with it the same way that we would do back when it first came out. Tiana's dream is more grounded in reality because it's more personal. The restaurant in itself is about, in a lot of ways, connecting with her father. It's paying homage to her father. It's their shared dream. They both wanted the restaurant. And then the Belle aspect is her strength of character, this individualistic nature, and also the sense of she's aware that she's alone. She has no one to really talk to, but the difference is that Tiana's totally all right with it. Right? She's got this goal. Nothing else matters outside of that goal, because, as her father said, don't forget what's important, and wishing's only going to do half the work. You got to work for it. The problem is with Tiana is that she sort of interpreted and internalized the wrong part. When she hears "don't forget what's important," she thinks it's the restaurant. That's not true. Her father wanted the restaurant, in part because food brings people together. To him, the restaurant was already sort of accomplished when, he and Tiana make the gumbo, and everyone from the neighborhood comes down, and they bring their own food, and it's a great party and whatnot. Everyone's happy. That, in a lot of ways, was his restaurant. But he wants an actual proper establishment because why not? And Tiana sort of latches on to it. Like, I've got to work hard, and things are going to go my way. It's sort of an equivalent exchange route for Fullmetal Alchemist. The problem is, Fullmetal Alchemist 2003 at least sort of totally thrashed the concept of equivalent exchange, which was actually really good, because I don't even think Edward understood equivalent exchange in 2003 until the end. And when her dream fails, quote unquote fails, because it doesn't work out the first time when she has the money, we see that there is a moment of devastation where she feels like, okay, I've got to break down and I've got to make the wish. It also doesn't help that from her perspective, Lottie makes a wish for the prince to come, and the prince is there in less than a minute. So, yeah, that amount of desperation does hit, but Tiana's character is pretty much the same up until the interaction, the reveal of Ray and his sweet Evangeline. And she realized that she admits she doesn't know how to dance. She's never danced before, which is technically not true because, first of all, she dances entirely and Almost There. Also, it's a Disney film. Everyone knows how to dance. It's just the law. Everyone knows how to sing. It's the law. And that sort of reveals to us the problem with Tiana, where Naveen doesn't quite know how to be a grown-up. He doesn't know how to be self-sufficient. Tiana doesn't quite know how to have fun. She doesn't know how to be a friend. Well, no, she's socially inept. I think that's the best way to say it. She doesn't quite know how to interact with people. Or the she doesn't quite know how to be social, how to have fun. And it's very hard to point that out as sort of an actual fault compared to everything else about her. She doesn't have time for it. And her mother's trying to warn about this. You need someone who's going to look after you, who's going to, be by your side. This is sort of very in line with what the Sultan wanted for Jasmine. He wanted to make sure that she was taken care of, provided for. Totally ignoring the fact that, she's royalty, although how rich royalty is sort of fluctuates. But the concept is still there. Tiana's mother wants her to have someone who will love her. And Tiana thinks, in Tiana's mind, that can come later. The thing is, though, it probably wouldn't. A lot of what is important about Tiana, what would ultimately, I think, wait for her at the end of the day, was she'd be so career-focused that she would one day find that she has no one around. Lottie would go off somewhere, married to a prince, not that she'd intentionally forget Tiana, but that would happen, and her mother would eventually pass on, and she would find herself totally alone because she's, in one way or another, pushed away everyone that's ever tried to reach out to her. So then she meets Naveen. Naveen, like Tiana, who sort of forced him to work, he forces her to come out of her shell a bit, forces her to open up, and that's the beauty of their interactions. Turning those two into frogs help them, I guess, become better people. And Mama Odie points out it's going to be harder for you to figure out what you need because you, first of all, you're so ingrained in it, and second of all, it's very hard to convince someone, yeah, it's not just about working hard, it's about something else. And it is a bit of a shame for Dr. Facilier that he was a bit late, because I think Dr. Facilier would have totally been able to get Tiana had he been around her when she found out the restaurant wasn't going to happen the first time at the party. So then when Facilier tries to get her again with, your father worked hard, he didn't accomplish his dreams, but I can make it happen. I can give you what you want. And it's then that she realizes that, this isn't what he wanted. What her father meant, what was really important, was love, was family. The restaurant was just something the two of them shared. It doesn't really mean as much without her in her father's mind. And she herself admits, my dream wouldn't be complete without you in it, when referring to Naveen. So, again, there's that heart, that sentiment. Both these characters have grown up over the course of the adventure, and it's really sweet. And that's sort of what The Princess and the Frog, I think, really excels at. It is about the two of them. Tiana is, I think, the more stronger and stable character, but Naveen has the more interesting growth, I think. Ultimately, Princess and the Frog is how a love letter movie should be. Not only does it pay tribute to everything that came before it, but it builds on everything that came before it. It creates a very great story, which doesn't totally echo the Disney Renaissance. It's not as big and loud as the other ones, which does it a great service. Everything feels very natural and part of the scenery, to the point where only like one song feels like it couldn't be part of the day-to-day hustle and bustle of New Orleans, which is Friends on the Other Side, because, well, ghosts and explosions. But you get to something like On the Bayou or When We're Human. Everything feels like it could have been sung anywhere. So, who are our two parallels for this? Well, luckily we only have to go to one movie, which is The Prince and Me. So The Prince and Me is about the Prince of Denmark, Edvard, who wants to go undercover as a regular college student, and he meets a girl, Paige Morgan, who is so dead set on being a doctor. She's hardworking, she's diligent, she's sort of pushed out most of the other things in her life in favor of it. In this case, it's appreciation for art and love. And Edvard doesn't quite know what it means to work, to be tired, to come home proper, I think. And over the course of their adventure, the two fall in love, and they sort of find what they're lacking in each other. That's sweet, it's beautiful, it sums up Tiana and Naveen. The only difference is Tiana and Naveen are way more fun than Edvard and Paige Morgan. All there is to it. So with that in mind, we'll bring this video to a close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Feel free to check out some other videos on this topic. It really helps. And I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. May your fandom serve you well.